Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. It is indeed, what do they call it, Thanksgiving Eve? Thanksgiving's tomorrow, but the fun, the gratitude, it all starts now. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman. This is Liberty RoundTable Live, hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, where we promote God, family, and country and protect life, liberty, and property. That's who we are and what we do in the traditions of our founding fathers. As you know, we reject revolution unless it's Jesus' revolution, and then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. A quick shout out to everyone for Thanksgiving. A big, huge, happy Thanksgiving to you from us, the Liberty Roundtable and Loving Liberty Networks team. We appreciate all of you and want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Before our guests join me today, a quick couple of Thanksgiving tidbits I want you to know about. Very few flights are being canceled. The air traffic controllers are struggling, but everything's supposedly going smooth. They pray that continues. This is one of the biggest travel days ever, so we'll keep an eye on that going on as well. Are you driving? Are you going to the airport? If you're going to the airport, I pray for you. It's not going to be a pleasure cruise, that's for sure. People's tempers are going to get hot and everything else. But hey, a little bit of kindness during Thanksgiving ought to make the difference. The Epoch Times, believe it or not, has an incredible poll out. It's a Thanksgiving poll. It says, hey, how are we doing as citizens, families, and the nation? And I don't want to destroy the poll for you, so I'm not giving you the results, but I want to just kind of talk about that on a personal level for a second. How are we doing as citizens? Well, you know, most of us need to turn to God a lot more than we are. That's my opinion. Most of us need to learn that family is one of the great support systems that we have on this earth. God gave us families, husbands and wives and children to support, love, and respect and help one another. And families are the key to the exercise, really. So when we say, how are we doing personally and as families? I think we got a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen. Divorces are rampant in the country. It seems like everybody is, alone these days. Sad to say. As individuals, are we turning to God and family and country enough? I think we could do a lot better. Are we keeping the 10 commandments? Are we using the 2 great commandments? Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength, and love thy neighbors as thyself, threaded through the 10 commandments? Are we using those principles God taught us? Or are we doubling down in the gazillion government commandments, hoping it'll help society? See, as citizens and as families, that's really the key. And then really a nation, how are we doing as a country? In my opinion, everybody's divided under every fault line under the sun. We've failed. We've followed the mainstream press and the lies in the media and the social media, and we've let the socialist and communist and all these politicians lead us astray. Let's get back to the fundamental principles based on the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, and let's demand that they obey the Constitution. That ought to help the nation, folks. But again, remember, it starts with God's law. If we're all self-governed, we don't need a lot of government. We don't need a lot of regulations. So this Thanksgiving, think about your personal life, think about your family life, and think about your country and say, how can I be part of the solution? So I don't want to just wish you a happy Thanksgiving, turn it into a beer bust, and that's the end of that. I want to make you think for Thanksgiving. I want you to think about, what do you have in your life that you're grateful for? What do you have thanks? What are you giving to those around you in terms of kindness and love and respect and dignity and hope? And why do I say that? Because Tim Livingston emailed, and he's got a survey. He reveals topics to avoid at Thanksgiving, of all things. And I find this kind of an interesting tidbit. What do you avoid? Well, they say you got to avoid, and they go through this big old list. I don't want to go through the whole list right now. But they say, for example, you got to avoid talking about politics. Whoa, I just talked about politics, didn't I? And I'm saying, hey, forget the political divide, forget the left and right dishonest paradigm, forget the hate that everybody has for one. Why don't you just step back and go, I can have my views, you can have your views, and we can agree to disagree agreeably. We can just let it go. We don't have to melt down. We don't have to throw our suckers in the dirt. We don't have to hate on one another and block one another on Facebook and X and whatever. Why don't we just say, it's cool that you have your view and I have my view, and maybe we can talk about it peacefully and kindly, and maybe you'll consider my ideas, and maybe I can actually consider your ideas, and maybe I don't have to be right. My dear late mother used to say, Sam, is it better to be right or is it better to have the Spirit of God with you? Well, it's better to have the Spirit of God. Okay, well then, Sam, sometimes you just don't have to show that you're right, even though you might be. Imagine that. Anyway, they say avoid relationships, avoid politics, avoid religion, avoid how much you make and salaries and work and this and that. When they get done with their whole list, you can't talk about anything for Thanksgiving. Why don't you just come on in, smile at everybody, eat your turkey, shut up and leave? Well, see, now they've just destroyed Thanksgiving, folks. Thanksgiving should be a time when we can go around the dinner table and we can all express our thoughts. I'm grateful that we have a country still, to be honest with you. I'm grateful the Republicans and the Democrats and the partisan politics haven't just destroyed the whole nation. Seems to me, sadly, that they're working on it. Oh, now I just stepped in it, didn't I? Shoot, I've ruined Thanksgiving. Oh, my heavens, what do I do? See, we've got to stop this, folks. People are people. They have views. Many of us have flawed views. In fact, all of us except one, that is Jesus Christ, right? He's the ultimate liberty-loving, freedom-loving leader. So let's focus on those things. And I don't want to just hear all the things that I can't talk about at Christmas, at Thanksgiving, during the holidays. I want to know what I can talk about. Can I talk about my life? That my career is going very well? That we've cranked up video this year in addition to radio and that it's going really well and it's awesome. And we've learned about lighting in our studios and we're making that I'm employing more people. Can I say those things? If it's a celebration for me, and even if you don't like my videos, even if you think, Sam, your videos are crazy, off the rail, insane, what about the idea that you can just step back and say, Sam, I don't even agree with you on everything, but I agree that you have the right to say it and think it and believe it and do videos about it. And more power to you. I'm glad things are going well, Sam. Give everybody a hug, give everybody a smile, hope their lives go well. Can't we just learn to celebrate with one another? Can't we learn to have gratitude for the same things? You know, oftentimes when we go around the dinner table and they say, Sam, what are you thankful for? I say, I'm grateful for electricity and plumbing. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you want to be thankful for something, electricity and plumbing ought to be two of them, because without it, they say 90% of the population would die. So I'm celebrating that we can all live, and I'm praying that we can live in harmony, that we can set aside our differences and just be grateful for a change. Salem Now, it's a movie service, salemnow.com. I don't get a penny for saying this, but I think it's interesting. Thanksgiving is the time of spiritual revival. They have actually a transformational film about that. And I think that is the key to the exercise. I think we need to have a transformational spiritual experience for Thanksgiving. I don't want to just hear all the things that I can't talk about and all the negatives. It's going to be a travel nightmare. Don't you dare talk about anything. On and on and on. Okay, I don't want that. I want you to say, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving? You know what? I'm going to go to the Luminaria later. I'm going to check out all the incredible lights and the wonderful things of Thanksgiving and gearing up for Christmas. I'm going to go get a Christmas tree this weekend. I believe in the real kind where I can smell the pie, smell the Christmas, and just love it. Spend time with family and loved ones and celebrate our victories and our successes and bear one another's burdens that we committed at Christian baptism and cry on each other's shoulders when there's some sad news and disappointing things. And I just want to live and be real and have relationships that are not just online, that are not divisive, that are just kind and respectful and decent and full of love. And if you take out the media, if you take out the government or politics and the politicians and the celebrities and you take that out all your life for a second and you go, man, life is awesome. Lance Migliaccio, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, brother. Do you have a quick Thanksgiving memory, thought, idea for me?
Well, you know, Thanksgiving's always been a time when we've had our families close, and I always look forward to it because it's a time to spend with people that you don't see constantly. So for me, you know, growing up in New York, Thanksgiving and Christmas was you know the biggest holidays we had, and I always appreciated the fact that you got a chance to spend time with the loved ones, which seems difficult nowadays. You know, it's always a struggle to make time like that. I can't say I'm always good at it. I let a lot of things pull on me, so it seems like it's for me. It's always been a great moment to not have that happen, where I'm more involved with my family. So yeah.
All right. Do we have George with us?
No, George is not joining us today.
Ah, George. How can I even
Yeah,
wish him a
yeah, I gave him a
Thanksgiving when he
hard time
doesn't
last
join?
night.
Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's getting pulled in a lot of directions. You know, his uncle has that big event hall, and they have a big
Oh,
Thanksgiving thing.
yes.
So he
All
usually
right.
pulls George in for last minute help.
So here's the deal then, George. We'll pray for you, buddy. We're sorry you have to work during the Thanksgiving holidays, but we're grateful that you have a job, brother. And we're grateful that you do your best to make time for us when it works. And we're glad to have you when it works. And when it doesn't, we understand, brother. And a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family and all your loved ones. And we hope you have a blessed time, sir. How's that, Lance?
I think that's really nice. I'll have to share that with him later. I'm sure that he would appreciate that as
All right, because I want him to know we appreciate him, and I realize that everybody can't be everywhere and do everything. I understand. I wish I could be at more than one place at a time. When we come back, we're going to introduce our guest. We got a lot of hard-hitting topics to discuss today, even though it is Thanksgiving Eve. We'll see what they think about Thanksgiving too before we kick off the hard-hitting stuff. How's that? Lance Migliaccio, thebigmig.com. Check out the Big Mig on Rumble and X and everywhere. Hopefully they're back on YouTube too, huh? We'll talk about that. Hang tight, Liberty Roundtable Live. This is why politics is such just a bare knuckles, break your nose kind of deal, ladies and gentlemen. We're trying to talk about Christmas and Thanksgiving and all this stuff, celebrate and have a good time and do all that we do, right? Roger Stone went on InfoWars and had the discussion, and he highlighted details from his meeting with President Trump. It's over at Infowars.com. As far as I understand, it's on band.video. And Stone addressed allegations that there's a CIA plot to overthrow President Trump, implicating John Brennan and 6 congressmen. This information was shared on, like I say, Band Video and on X and on Infowars and everywhere else. There's a lot of plots right now to try to derail Donald Trump, and it's a sad tale to tell. And, I really blame Trump and Congress and everybody else for not cleaning house when they had the chance, Lance.
Yeah, I've been saying that over and over again on my show on Rumble, that I think the biggest mistake this administration is making is that they're continuing along as there aren't still a bunch of deep staters or people that they have to worry about within even the current administration. They did that the first time, and I thought that he'd done a better job this time. But I can't say that I feel that way because I know what I voted for. I voted for, transparency, accountability, and consequences. And I feel like
imagine that.
Yeah, and my problem, Sam, is I feel like we still have this weaponized judiciary and legal system. I feel like the laws that apply to us versus the laws that apply to Donald Trump, the congressional members, people within the DOJ and the FBI are completely different. So it doesn't surprise me that what Roger Stone is saying. And in fact, if you look at what those 6 congressmen did when they made that video, which shows intent, it's clear that they violated the statutes of the United States. And Mark Kelly specifically, he's an actually fully retired military member, which opens up a whole different can of worms for him as far as what could happen to him.
Yeah, and what you're allowed to talk about and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, all I'm telling you is I believe there's a lot of plots against President Trump, and I think they're wrong. But again, I would say it's because we haven't taken action. We joked about locking up Hillary. We never locked up anybody. And now those people have a lot of power and a lot of position and a lot of inside trading, so to speak, to where they can make life pure hell for anybody. And that's what's happening. And so I'm starting an article right now, and I know I'm going to get attacked for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. The question is this: are Trump supporters, AKA MAGA, finally feeling buyer's remorse? The record speaks, and it's not pretty. Anyway, then I go on to my big article. I won't go into it now because I'm finishing it. But this is the kind of stuff people are starting to really honestly ask. And I don't mean to attack anybody in the question, but it's a fair question. Are people starting to just sour on it, going, man, we've done nothing? We're going to go into 26. We're going to lose big because we don't have anything to run on. And all we can say is, yeah, we did a pretty good job on the border. Well, that was Donald himself, but Congress didn't do anything. In fact, they used Joe Biden's budget plan the whole time is all they did. And when we wanted to do anything better, the Democrats rioted. We're just like, no, go back to Joe's plan. Joe's plan's great. Let's hold the line at Joe's plan. If you call that a winning strategy, I don't know what to tell you. So it's very strange, but we're starting to see the fallout of inaction, Lance.
Well, buyer's remorse, I actually think that might be an accurate statement. I see that, as you know, George and I are in a lot of chat rooms and a lot of group messaging and all that. We don't always participate, but we've been invited to lots and lots of rooms. So we just see that coming through our feeds on different platforms. And many people are discussing that. Many people are saying this isn't what I voted for. Sure, they're happy about the international policy, but the trickle down on that is going to take quite a bit longer than Donald Trump thinks. The economy's not great. They mentioned that they thought the Thanksgiving dinner was cheaper. I don't think that's true, to be honest with you. The general things that are impacting the American public aren't happening fast enough. And the biggest complaint has got to be election integrity and ignoring what it takes to make the system a legitimate voting system. There hasn't been enough movement in that. And arrests. People thought that they were going to drain the swamp. They were hopeful that when Kash Patel was, designated as the FBI director, that he was going to follow his blueprint in the book Government Gangsters. I
Yeah.
hear it over and
And
over
now we
again.
hear Cash is just protecting his girlfriend and getting involved in all kinds of scandals himself. And I don't mean to attack him. I'm just saying, hey, then we're told, well, wait, things are coming. Well, you know what? You're going to wait too long, people. I hear we're going to launch an investigation into elections. We're going to launch an investigation into the J6 deal. Aren't you launching an investigation way too late? I mean, this Congress session's virtually over.
Yeah, I mean, and right now, even Polymarket says that we're going to lose the midterms, that the Republicans are done, and that the
Well, you've got to
Democrats.
do something,
Yeah,
Lance, to
there's
win.
no
You've got to
doubt.
do something. Why doesn't Donald just abolish the IRS? Instead of giving me a $2,000 one-time socialist redistribution of wealth plan, why don't you just shut down the communist criminal against the Constitution IRS? Why don't you do something for real? If you crank up the ERS, the External Revenue Service, aka tariffs, why don't you just get rid of the IRS then? I mean, Donald could do something serious and give me a Christmas present, buddy.
You are absolutely preaching to the choir when it comes to me, and I'm sure the audience feels the same way. The Internal Revenue Service and the collection of taxes was supposed to be temporary. It was never supposed to be permanent. And of course, it's really the collection arm for the Federal Reserve Bank. A lot of people out there are like, "What are you talking about, Lance? That's crazy."
Yeah,
Well,
when are we going to get the headlamps on and roll into the,
Yeah. Yeah,
going
if
to
you got
Fort
rid of the
Knox
Federal
and stuff?
Reserve, I mean, we're paying a private institution interest on a fiat currency. We're paying them to print our money. I don't believe we need the Federal Reserve Bank, and I don't think we need
Costs
the
about
families that own
15
it.
cents to create $100 bills. It's fraud to say they're worth $100.
Yeah, absolutely. But, again, most people don't recognize it, and most people don't know that the IRS is actually collecting the interest for the Federal Reserve Bank. Sounds like conspiracy theory, but it's not. If you spend any time, if you ever read the book about Jekyll Island, you'd understand more. And I recommend that every American read that book and really understand what happened with
Oh
our
yeah,
banking
forget about the
system.
Loch Ness monster and Bigfoot and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. This creature's rising, buddy, and it's
Yeah, there's no
abusing
doubt.
the nation. Done so for 100+ years. But here's the question for Trump and company. Uh, I don't know why Donald Trump is basically giving this communist new mayor of New York City or whatever a big old hug, and they're like, "Hey, we can work together. This is awesome, and we had a great meeting." And yet we're going to attack Green, and we're going to attack Massey, and we're going to attack
Yeah.
Rand Paul, and we're going to attack anybody that wants the Epstein files. And I mean, Trump has lost his marbles.
Well, I have mixed feelings about MTG. I don't have. I agree with you on the other ones. I'm not sure about MTG. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Well, and even if you don't
I
like
believe
MTG,
she's the new
why?
host of The View. Just so you know, I think she's
Yeah,
going to be the
but
new
why
host.
attack her though, and defend this communist though?
Oh no, there's no doubt. I mean, I told you. I think we discussed this before on the show. First of all, I don't understand the embracing of Mandami. That I don't get. He's already out bad mouthing Trump. I think that was a foolish and definitely bad optics. It was a foolish meeting and bad optics. I wouldn't have met with him. Number one. Number two. Look, Trump has had a lot of people around him that shouldn't be there. I mean, do you really think that Bill Gates, that David Sachs should have invited Bill Gates to the White House and to that dinner? What about Bill Gates sitting on one side and Mark Zuckerberg sitting on the other? Doesn't Trump remember the 400 plus million of Zucker bucks and what happened there? I mean, we've seen this too often where it seems like people around the administration are advising him to have these meetings and have these intros. And I honestly don't understand because as a New Yorker, I'm a baby elephant. I'm still looking for the guy that hit me with the nail stick from when I was a kid. I just don't forget things, and I don't understand why Donald Trump has veered so far away from his New York roots because New Yorkers are like that. They, once bitten, twice shy, and I don't see
Amen.
that in him.
Well, so here's the other question for Trump. There's a lot of people that still need a pardon. There's a lot of people who still we need the truth here. Steve Stockman, I hope he runs for Congress for the third time and wins, by the way. But Steve Stockman, and by the way, if you go to stockmannow.com, you can donate and help that become reality. StockmanNow.com. I bring that up, though, because we've been giving people pardons that I don't think we should be pardoning at all. And then people who really need pardons, they seem to be forgotten, Lance. What's happening with that?
Well, I agree with you. The pardon system, I would have to blame that on the people surrounding Trump. I'm not sure that Susie Wiles and others aren't having a direct impact on who's getting pardons. And I often wonder if it's because of their finances versus the need or obligation. I mean, I'd like to see Snowden get a complete pardon. Julian Assange
Amen.
didn't get a complete pardon. I think there's lots of people, and I still think there's a weaponized legal system that we're
I think I
seeing.
need a pardon, Lance.
Well, look, at the end of the
I don't
day,
even know what for yet. It just
I,
needs to blanket me forever.
I mean, even though it's a state case, you look at what's going on with poor Tina Peters. I
Yeah.
believe there's a simple solution based on the law. They just need to designate her as a witness in a election fraud case that has to do with national security, which of course our election systems have to, and they could force her to be released to the U.S. Marshals, and then they could put her in a witness protection and never give her back. At the end of the day, what happened in Colorado is disgusting. Jenna Griswold clearly, received money from George Soros. It's obvious that they weaponized the entire system here. Even the judge, I believe, acted beyond the scope of what he should have done. But let's put it this way, Sam. With no accountability and no consequences, we've got a judiciary that's biased. We've got a DOJ that's continuing to bring cases. So pardons that aren't deserved seems like part of the whole thing, isn't it?
I think Donald needs to bust out his samurai sword, buddy, and just start going after people and saying, hey, man, we're going to take care of business and create accountability and transparency here. But the problem is we haven't seen it. All right, maybe not a samurai sword.
Well, our next guest knows it better than anybody. We'll introduce him when we come back.
Well, doesn't he need a pardon, Lance?
I mean, he definitely does. But I think right away you've got to talk about what the legal system did to him and how it weaponized against him. And I don't believe it was justified.
Roger that. It all happens in seconds, ladies and gentlemen, on the one and only hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, nationally syndicated, globally distributed program called Liberty RoundTable Live.
Well, welcome back to Liberty RoundTable Live, of course, with the news the networks refuse to use, with your host, Sam Superman Bushman, and myself, Lance Migliaccio from The Big Mig Show. It's Thanksgiving. We're excited to be here, and we're thankful for you guys sharing your time with us. Got a great guest. I'm excited about this because it ties directly in with what we've been discussing. Of course, Keonne Rodriguez is an American software developer from Florida and the co-founder of Samurai Wallet, which is now a defunct Bitcoin privacy-focused software. And in November, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for, according to the DOJ, and I say according to because you know how the DOJ operates, guilty till proven innocent. They say he was operating an unlicensed money transmitting business that laundered hundreds of millions of dollars from criminal activities. Keonne and his company never transmitted money. They never had custody of any funds. They just created the software. So let's get him in here, and this is going to be a discussion. Of course, a lot of you people are going to be shocked once you hear the details of this.
Mr. Rodriguez, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, Sam and Lance.
Before we drill into the details, tell me about Thanksgiving. Do you have a great memory, a great thought? What do you think about my idea that, hey, we don't have to just hate and melt down everywhere we go all the time, and we don't have to take everything off the table. We can be human.
Yes, very much agree. I mean, I'm lucky. I think we don't have any off-limits discussion points that we need to follow in my family. We are all pretty much on the same page. And I think what you said in your opening monologue was absolutely right. Family is so important. And especially I've come to realize this as I'm going through probably one of the toughest portions of my life. I could not have got through it without the support and love of my family, especially my wife. So, this Thanksgiving is particularly important. It's the last one I'm going to have for quite a while. And I am
unless we
truly
can get you a
very
pardon
thankful.
From Donald, maybe we can circumvent and get you a pardon from Donald, Mrs.
Well, we're
Rodriguez
trying.
would like that.
Yes, she sure would. She sure would.
All right, let's talk about this. Thanksgiving is a time to really remember and reflect and everything else. And I'm sure that it's more poignant for you this time than ever before because of what you're facing. But tell me about this samurai wallet because I don't really understand what you were arrested for. I mean, on one hand, is Bitcoin really money? If it is, what about this idea that you can't counterfeit? And if it's money, then what goes with that? I mean, everybody needs to be arrested. I'm wearing a shirt right now that's the gold back. And if it's money, then we got a big problem because the government doesn't like competition. If it's not money, then you didn't transfer money. I mean, I don't really understand it. Can you help me with
Ye-
that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's an ongoing debate, I think, between people in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Is it money or is it not? I don't think it is, um, but I think what it was designed to be is a replacement for cash and the type of freedom that you get when you transact in cash, as in it's permissionless and there's not a third party between you and the person you're transacting with. So I think that's what it was designed
So it's the
to be.
ultimate barter tool.
I think so. I think that's more along the lines of how I see it, and how I would see a gold back as well, right? And you can trade gold backs between you and myself without someone in the middle. And I think that's what Bitcoin was trying to be, just an electronic version of it. So you're right; it's not money. So how can it be money laundering? But it gets even deeper than that. Um, what I built was software. It was code. It was an app. And I never took anyone's money. I just created software that allowed people to interact with their own cryptocurrency, their own Bitcoin. And the government charged me with two crimes. One is conspiracy to commit money laundering, and the other is conspiracy to operate a money transmission business without a license. I never thought that you could operate a money transmission business without actually taking the money and transmitting it. I was wrong. The
And
government
now the
disagreed.
big discussion, Lance, is what is money? Is money the constitutional supreme law of the land, currency, gold and silver? A dollar equals 1 ounce of silver. $20 equals 1 ounce of gold. Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about the government could create fake money and distribute it all over the place, but since they're the one that grant licenses, they're okay? Then you get these banking cartel third party groups, the 12 banks that make up the Federal Reserve, and those clowns transfer money everywhere all the time. They literally create a $100 bill for 14 cents and lie and tell you it's worth $100 right out of the gate. They're okay. So, I mean, what gives, Lance?
Well, you know what I always think when you talk about the Department of Justice and you talk about the weaponization of the system. First of all, I hate to say that I know too much about this, and I completely understand how it works, having been around lots of different people and myself, and dealt with this. The question comes of the mens rea of the crime. Right out of the gate, when I hear Keonne say what he just said, mens rea is supposed to be that you've got the mental state to commit a crime, that you have intent. I'm wondering where the intent is on this because, first of all, I had no idea that you had to have a license for money transmitting businesses. First of all, I have no knowledge of that. And they always say that ignorance of a crime is no justification for committing a crime, but you also have to have the
Yeah, but are we
mens rea of the
transferring
crime.
money or are we transferring zeros and ones in a digital ledger?
Exactly. And I want to take it a step further. If you don't identify Bitcoin as an actual currency that you're designated as a digital currency, and it doesn't really match in your head that it equals the U.S. dollar, USDC or USDT, however you want to look at that. That's digital and non-digital. Uh, I don't think he had the mens rea right out of the gate just by the statements that he just said there. So how do they make that conduit to he committed a crime? Because normally you have to know you were committing a crime. So number one, I had no idea you have a license. Number two, trying to control what people use an item for. The Second Amendment, the anti-Second Amendment people have always tried to do this. Guns don't kill people; it's people that kill people. You can kill people with a wrench. You can kill people with this skull on my desk. The idea is you have to have the intent, and the point is that the gun doesn't have any intent; it's a tool. So here we are. He created a software, and this is my take, and I'm gonna let him, respond. I just don't see where there was an intent right out of the gate. Knowing what I know about this case, I read quite a bit about it. How did they make that crossover, Keone? Because I don't see right from your first statement that you had any intent for people to use it for money laundering. How would you even know what they were using the software for if you weren't part of the transaction? Meaning you created the software, they used it, that was the end of the story, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Um, the mens rea, I would agree with you. I don't have a criminal mind. I didn't create this software to facilitate money laundering. I don't think Bitcoin is money. But that being the case, I don't think that that's not why I created this software. I created this software because I think people have a fundamental right to privacy in their transactions, that the government has no business seeing what you transact with, and trying to replicate the properties of cash in a digital landscape. That's what my intent was. The government, and if you have any experience with a U.S. attorney's office, you will know they will cherry pick information. They will go through all of your social media and all of your chats, find something that they can take out of context.
Mhm.
And that's what they did here to establish mens rea. There was a tweet I made where I was discussing the way that money laundering laws came about in the 70s and how people tried to get around those money laundering laws by transacting less than $10,000 at a time so it wouldn't trigger the the reporting requirement.
Right.
And then Congress, noticing that, created a new crime called structuring, and that was intentionally trying to avoid those reporting requirements.
Yeah, if you
And
take
then
apart the
I
puzzle and transmit the pieces, then hey.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I said those congressmen were, quote, sickos for doing that, for inventing these new crimes. This was a post I made on social media, and the government wheeled that in front of the judge and said, look, judge, he has no respect for the law. He has no respect for money laundering laws. He created this software to launder money. That was part of
Yeah.
their mens rea.
And that, and Sam, let me say this to the audience so they get this. The Department of Justice is notorious for this kind of behavior. They will manipulate a statement you made, and we all make statements. I'm sure if somebody crawled through everything that Sam and I had ever said, they would try to fabricate that somehow we're anti-government, but that's not the case at all. I'm pro-government. I'm pro-legal system. I'm just not pro a legal system that decides rules for thee, not for me. At the end of the day, they've got money laundering laws and they've got insider trading laws, but those don't seem to apply to Congress.
Well,
It
they
doesn't.
don't. They also don't apply to what's called a meme or a meme coin. What's a meme coin, Lance? Let's talk about this for a second because I think it directly relates. What the heck is a meme coin?
Well, meme coins are based normally on something that's viral in social media or
Yeah, like a graphic
in.
or an image
Well,
or a
right.
meme.
Well, but a lot of them are based on, say, for example, Peanut the squirrel. Peanut the
Go ahead and
squirrel
skip
went
the
viral.
break.
Peanut the squirrel went viral. Somebody made a
Yeah.
meme coin about him. That token took off. I'm not a fan of meme
Hold
coins in
on.
general. Now, I
Hold
believe
on.
down
Is
the
it
road.
money?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of people, and of course, we just found out they weren't stocks. Although Gary Gensler swore for forever that they were stocks. I don't think they're money. I don't. Clearly they have a value added to them. They're tokenized, but that's the big
Yeah.
argument. And I think when you start talking about the Department of Justice determining things that they don't have enough knowledge of, I would bet that if we talk to the Department of Justice prosecutors that dealt with Keonne's case, I'd be surprised if they really understood crypto. It's a pretty
Okay, so
complicated.
they say these meme coins are like a memorabilia. The market value is based on this precious metal. What's the market value if our friend here transmits, say, this much in Bitcoin from one location to another? Has he changed the value of it? What has he done? He's just changed an entry from one party to another, right?
Correct.
He assigned something from me to you.
Software that allowed you to assign from you to Lance. I
Right.
had
Oh,
no
wow.
no
He had no
action in
interaction.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
I
didn't. He
just
didn't do
created
anything.
the tool.
And
So
as a
here's my
comparison, Sam, if I sell
yeah,
this skull to somebody, right, or I give this skull to somebody just as a comparison, and then
yeah.
they take it out and kill somebody, that would be like charging me for murder because I sold them the skull. I think this is the same situation. I think them coming up with his, some messaging he did on social media. Let's face it, we've all posted something at one time or another that maybe we did it because we were aggravated about something or irritated about something. I've said some things that down the road I don't really believe anymore that years ago I might have said that I wouldn't say now. The point of the matter is things change. I again I believe this is the Department of Justice reaching beyond the scope because a big part of the Department of Justice is the seizures. Curiosity, Keonne, how much did they seize from you?
$6.4 million.
6.4 million. And
Yeah.
that's my point, Sam.
And hold on, who seized it?
DOJ.
So Pam seized your money.
Yeah. So this was brought under Biden's DOJ initially, and then continued under Trump's DOJ.
So wait, why would it continue under Trump's DOJ? Doesn't Trump know enough to go, wait a minute, hold on, stop, Pam, hold on, we got to dig into this thing?
I thought a lot about it, and there was a lot of good signs coming out of the Trump administration early on. We had a memo come out from Todd Blanche, who's the Deputy Attorney General, saying, hey, we're not going to go after the people who build tools. We're going to go after the people who commit crimes. So there was a lot of good movement early on. But then things kind of dropped off. And I don't know. I still think Trump is a fundamentally fair person. And I think that if he and members of an administration at the top kind of actually knew what was going on with this case, they probably would have stopped it because it's fundamentally unfair.
How do we sit around the Thanksgiving table with the Donald and catch him up?
Yeah. If I had that influence, I would, but unfortunately I don't.
All right. Well, if I look up on ChatGPT just really quick, just so everybody knows, they're called $ Trump tokens. Is that money, Lance?
That's a very good question.
It's even got a $ in front of it, buddy.
Yeah. The Trump token, of course, some people made money. Many people lost money. It came out, the market, he had just had a big crypto event at the White House, and nobody knew about it. He came out. I think his family made a lot of money off it. I think maybe some extremely close people made money. A lot of people lost money. The token isn't all that valuable now. It doesn't have any utility, and that's the problem with meme coins, in my opinion. The majority of them don't have any utility. Now, I think down the road,
who passed them around, though? Do they have a license and stuff? I think we can dig into this and find out that plenty of people don't have licenses to do all kinds of things.
Yeah. And that's the really thing. And I got to ask this, Keonne, they seized $237 million in assets, correct?
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay. That's out in the news. I didn't know if that was true.
Well, let's talk about that number because it's actually important, right? Yeah. So these are the government's numbers. $2 billion worth of cryptocurrency went through the software that I created. Didn't go to me. It was just
currency. Can we use that word? Is that money?
Yeah, cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Just wondering if it's money.
Yeah, I don't think so, but
because see,
I think it depends on who you ask.
Did you get a jury of your peers, my friend?
No.
What?
No.
Lance.
We took the deal. And
they had to take a plea because, and let me give this to the audience because a lot of them don't get this. So when the DOJ comes out with an indictment, first of all, the grand jury is sealed. You never really know what was presented. So they can sit in there and lie and cheat and tell every story known to man, and you're never going to have access to it.
Don't you have a right to face your accuser and get the whole scoop, buddy?
That is what the Constitution says. So that's a very good point, Sam. But no, in fact, the jury of your peers is not sequestered from your peers. It's sequestered from whoever's on the list to be next listed for a jury. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is after they get the indictment with this sealed grand jury, which I believe is hiding exculpatory evidence. I believe often in those grand jury presentations that the prosecutors lie about the individual being presented. They tell a story that isn't completely accurate. And you're supposed to be able to face those juries and defend yourself, but you're not even invited to a sealed grand jury because they say that you might be a flight risk if you know about it. So anyway, long story short, they get the grand jury indictment. Then what happens is there's a flurry. They come out and arrest you, and then you hire an attorney for an evergreen retainer or a flat retainer or an hourly rate. And then they file a flurry of what I like to call cookie cutter motions. Those motions are filed.
Which means paper terrorism against the innocent until proven guilty. But keep going.
But here's the worst part. So you file. Here's these cookie cutter motions that mean little to nothing. Although your attorney will tell you that they mean, oh, it's incredible. Nothing. Right then, the plea negotiations start with the threats of massive amounts of times. In Keonne's case, they might have threatened him with 10, 15, 20 years.
25.
25 years. So good guess on my part. And what happens is the threats accompany, which is bribery, coercion, and threats coming straight from the Department of Justice. If you don't take this deal and agree to what we're offering now, we're working on a superseding indictment. And if we bring the superseding indictment, you're going to be looking at 30, 40, 50 years. Your life will be over. End of story. So your attorney tells you, oh my God, you better take the deal. They're getting angry. If you go to trial, they're going to throw the book at you. And you're going to lose, and they're going to supersede indict you. And so your attorney because this is the problem, right? Defense counsel across the nation normally have half a dozen or more cases working in that local Department of Justice. They're negotiating all these different people. Maybe somebody spent more money than Keonne. Maybe somebody else gave their attorney 500,000 versus his 250. And I'm making these numbers up. The point is, in that negotiation, they're talking about, well, I'll give you a deal on Sam Bushman if you take the deal on Keonne. That negotiation is going on. These guys are playing golf together. They're playing poker together. They're going to the same events together. It is a system that is fully corrupted. The odds of you getting a fair deal are almost nil. And you would believe whatever your attorney tells you. Don't worry, we're going to get you a pardon. Don't worry, we're going to appeal this and I'll get your sentence cut. And the truth of the matter is most people get sold down the river. And my opinion is the way the system is set up, it is criminal. They are violating their own statutes and laws when they start doing this bribery and coercion and threats of the superseding indictment.
Well, and the prosecutors are arguing in this case that the service was designed to obscure what they call the origins and destination of Bitcoin transactions. But my question is this. Who cares if you know the origin and destination of Bitcoin transactions? They say making it attractive to illegals. Well, isn't that what the fiat currency of the Federal Reserve does? I mean, you can print your own cash for that matter. You can go ahead and steal it from, you can think of the money outside of the United States. We have no clue of all that happening. I mean, it's fueled cartels like you wouldn't believe.
Keonne might have dropped off. We'll get him back in here. I think he dropped off from his signal.
Yeah, no problem. But all I'm saying is this is serious, though, Lance. When you think about this, the prosecutors are saying the service was designed to obscure the send and receive locations of these Bitcoins. Why do they need to know the send and receive locations? And what gives the government the authority to know that anyway, or demand that?
Because they're losing their chokehold. The idea of decentralized finance is exactly the opposite of what the government wants. Let's face it, the Federal Reserve doesn't want somebody issuing anything that has a digital value. It takes away their power, the power of the printing press, the power of controlling the currency, the power of that currency being distributed in a way that if the American people fully understood it, they would probably revolt. But they don't want that, Sam. And that's the problem with cryptocurrency, decentralized finance. Because at the end of the day, that privacy is supposed to be part of it. But here comes the IRS now. Now they want full disclosure. No matter if you haven't made any money in your crypto, they want to know where your crypto's at, just in case you owe some money so they can work about seizing it. And that's the problem. This tax system is so not what the American public voted for. It's so beyond that. And Keonne's back. My opinion
Didn't Trump basically say that he's going to stop the, quote, crypto crackdowns?
He did say that, but that does not appear to be the case, because if there was going to be a crypto crackdown dead stop, wouldn't Samurai Wallet be one of them? I mean, wouldn't they look at this case? Wouldn't the current Department of Justice say, hey, we weren't going to go forward with these cases? But I will say this.
I hope not to call Rodriguez a turkey, but I'm hoping Trump can pardon this turkey.
Well, he definitely pardoned a couple of turkeys, although you did hear about the judge that said they had to revoke those pardons. It was a Biden judge.
Uh-huh.
No, wow. But here's the point. Keonne, in my opinion, is a victim. He wasn't supposed to be. They targeted him. The Department of Justice, once they get their hooks into you, they don't want to let go because they want to get the conviction. But anybody would tell you that a group, and again, let me back up here for a second. Does anybody on this show, do either of you believe that the Department of Justice is the only government entity that gets it right every single time?
I think it's a criminal enterprise, and there's no constitutional authority for a Department of Justice in the first place.
Keonne?
I would agree wholeheartedly with Sam.
Okay, we have seen the corruption within the USAID, within our own government. We've seen it in the senators violating wiretapping laws, right? Pulling warrants on other senators' phones. We've seen all this, right? We know it. How is it possible that the Department of Justice has a 93, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% conviction rate? If they're not cheating, if they're not lying. The truth of the matter is they're lying in every single case. And I can give you specific examples of laws they're violating in every single case known to man. All of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that the Department of Justice is right about every case, including Keonne's, and they're not. The truth is Donald Trump isn't fixing the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi isn't fixing the Department of Justice. When was the last time
they're
you
just
heard a
carrying
Department
on
of
the
Justice?
criminal activity, right?
Exactly. And when was the last time, Sam, if ever, that you've heard of a Department of Justice prosecutor who violated the laws getting arrested, charged, indicted, and sentenced? When was the last time you heard of anything
Never.
like that?
But it needs to happen ASAP. Now, Donald Trump criticized Joe and company for allegedly weaponizing the judicial system, ladies and gentlemen. Well, now seems like Trump and company, Pam and whoever else, it seems like they've just simply said, hey, we don't like cartels if it's our enemies' cartels. Cartels are great if it's our cartels. I mean, isn't that what we're saying?
Basically, yes. And when you're making the system that it is an equal application of law or equal protection of the law. Here's a case where somebody created a software and they're claiming that the use of that software was the crime. Well, that's not what Keonne used the software for. He didn't use it to commit the crime. He didn't launder the money himself. He didn't launder his own proceeds. He didn't have a drug organization or a criminal organization that needed to launder proceeds. He just created a privacy software. There's all kinds of privacy software out there. It's all over the place. I think this is a case where the DOJ got started on him and they were unwilling, out of their avarice, their pride, their greed, and what they operated in all these cases across the United States regularly, they were unwilling to take a step back and say, hey, we said we weren't going to go after these crypto cases. Why don't
Ladies and gentlemen, Keonne Rodriguez with us. He created the Samurai Wallet. It was a protection software. The government doesn't need to know about your transactions, do they? Well, they arrested him. Now they're going to go ahead and try to put him in prison. We're begging Donald for a pardon right away, ladies and gentlemen. More in seconds. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.